Hello friends, I am back. I lied. No, I did not know that I was gonna get the opportunity to see Nosferatu before the end of the year, and luckily I have been invited to a media screening, so I'm gonna go see it today and I'm so excited. This is written and directed by Robert Eggers, and it's a remake of the original German film from 1922. The film has a wild cast, including Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok himself. We've got Nicholas Hoult, Lily Rose Depp, and of course one of my favorites, Willem Dafoe. I have seen the first trailer for this one. I didn't think I'd be able to see it this year, and I just wanted to see the teaser trailer. There's been so many different versions of this story all pertaining to these characters, and I'm looking forward to a very dark, gothic portrayal of this. In the original story, we follow a vampire who is infatuated with a woman and what he does to get to her. There's a lot of glamoring through other films that are based on the same story, and I'm just really excited to see how Robert Eggers brings that to screen in his stylization. I think it's a really good match. I'm also really excited to see the reveal with Bill Skarsgård. I haven't seen any of that really in the media or marketing yet, but in interviews he said that he scared himself while preparing for this role or playing this role, and it's something that he doesn't want to do probably again because of the transformation. Getting into character was such an intense journey for him, which I don't know what that means coming from someone who's played Pennywise. That's wild. This one was also partly filmed in a castle in Prague, so I think the set dressing and the whole atmosphere is going to be pristine, but I'll let you know. I'll let you know whether it's worth your time and whether all of our hopes were so high for a good reason. Let's go. The overcast today is kind of perfect for this film. You guys have no idea how excited I am to be able to see this one on time. I don't usually get this opportunity, and I really thought I was gonna have to wait till January, so I am stoked. I'm so excited. I'm a huge fan, and I know a lot of you guys are too, so I really hope I come back with good news. Oh my gosh, I just got out of the cinema, guys. I adored that. That was so satisfying, I think would be the word. That was such a satisfying remake. I don't think I've ever seen such a satisfying remake. Oh my god, where do I start? So the film follows the original story of Nossie. That's what we call him here in Australia. We follow a man that needs to journey far to sell a property to a mysterious lord, but his wife is glamored by this mysterious figure from afar. I am floored by the look of this film, which is what we kind of got out of the trailer or the teaser trailer. A lot of people were really excited about the way that this film looked, and I can tell you the hype is real. It is one of the most beautiful, stunning films I have ever seen. Again, it's really well suited to Eggers' stylization, especially with films like The Northman and The Witch under his belt, and of course, you know, The Lighthouse, but with those films under his belt, it made sense to do a period remake of this film in his style. And not only is it just the most beautiful backdrop, and they really took the time to logistically set out every single scene, the way it pans through things, the reveal, the timing, just all of the cinematography elements all together, it's jaw-dropping. But also the colorization, because it is colorful in some parts, and then it kind of slowly moves into black and white as we transfer to more darkness and more mysterious, haunting elements. And then there's also the candlelight. In the background, they utilize candlelight a lot, or fire, and that almost changes this black and white aspect into a more sepia tone, but it's like a fake sepia. So it's really interesting, the color theory throughout this film. Every shot is beautiful, but my favorite sequence is as we're watching Thomas Hutter go to the castle and go visit Orlok, and just the way he travels and that sequence, it is, I've never seen anything like it. I wanted every single shot within that, within his travel, at the end of his travel, I want it to be painted and put in my house. It is spectacular, and I feel so lucky to have seen it on the big screen, and I think for that reason alone, you should definitely see it on the big screen. Okay, in saying all of that, I was very surprised by the look of Orlok, and especially with that being Bill Skarsgård. I knew it was him, obviously, but you cannot tell it's him at all, which I thought was really interesting because he has such an interesting look to him. You think they'd utilize that in, I don't know, the way that he's, you know, he's tall and he's towering over people and he can contort his body in certain ways. He's just really good with movement and his facial features are very unique. So I thought that that was going to come into it, but he's wearing prosthetics. He looks completely different to what I would have imagined. So I was really taken back by that, but it was also a really captivating and almost realistic look to him compared to the other films that, you know, his different versions in other films. So I just didn't see that coming, and the textures, the nails, everything is just so interesting the way it all came together. It's also interesting in terms of effects, the body horror elements in this film. There are some amazing reveals. It's not too much, but it is gory in all the right places and detailed in all the right places. The texture, everything they used was so well planned out, and the horror elements within the moment are what makes this film. It's almost like those offbeat, I wouldn't say jump scares, but those offbeat moments where you think you're totally fine and then something happens, and I was not expecting that. And that's from the start of the film. It's not like they keep the horror and it slowly comes in. It is a quick descent. It starts off being pretty horrific with some grand reveals. So I was really happy with that pacing throughout because it just kept you on your toes. You're looking at this beautiful scenery and the composition, the costumes, the shadows, every single scene, every single shot, there is something to get lost in. And with that, and then the horror elements kind of jumping in there, I don't want to say it's jump scares, but you know, just being put throughout sporadically, it's just a joy. It's an absolute joy. The film itself is quite long. It's only 2 hours and 15 minutes, which isn't that long for an Eggers film, but I did feel like it kind of slowed down towards the end. There is a lot to include in the journey though. It's a long story, and this is the one thing that I want you guys to take away. This film is so detailed in its delivery in terms of what is actually happening to the characters. All of the other versions of this same story that I've seen have not explained it so thoroughly. I felt like it was almost too detailed. Everyone's thoughts, intentions, moral compass, everything is thrown in. And especially with Willem Dafoe's character, he explains a lot of what is the unknown around the mysterious figure. So I think that's what I found satisfying in some elements, but at times I felt like it needed a little bit more mystery and ambiguity. But I was still really happy that they had thought it out to that degree and everything is explained in this film, which makes it a good standalone as well. So it's not just for people who are looking for the remake or wanting a retelling. It's for people who don't know anything. I promise if you stick with it, it might seem weird to be dropped into this world, kind of like in his other films, dropped into The Witch or The Lighthouse. But this is one of his films that is the best explained. So I thought that was really interesting. I wasn't expecting that, especially with the original film being silent and so many of the elements are just, you know, words put up on the screen. There's not a lot they can put in there. So I thought it was interesting the amount of content they got out, but it is a long film. So if you want a long, slow and steady film that is littered with horror or, you know, scattered with horror, it's just so beautiful to look at. The last thing we have to talk about is Lily Rose Depp. This was a really interesting role for her. I have seen The Idol and, you know, she's been through some stuff. I think that this is a really good, different role for her, but I was really surprised with how physical the role is. The movie is not as romantic as I would say like this, I think it's the 70s version is, but it is very erotic. And I was very surprised with what she had to do and how much this film more relies on her at times than Bill Skarsgård's character. It's really cool to see her break out and do something different, but I was really surprised by the way her character really has to take control and some of the metaphors that come out of that. I think it's a really powerful performance from her, but I'll be very interested to see what what other people have to say, because it's a very, I don't want to say provocative, but it's a very intense performance. I think she did really well with it. It's just not what I was expecting for Ellen Hutter in this film. But again, that's the detail. There's so much detail put into this with her motivations, and you really get to look into her psyche. So I found it was really interesting to not only have this psychological approach of this thing that she's attached to, but it was also a physical connection. And yeah, it was very surprising, and I think very shocking in all the right ways. I adore this film. I think it's an amazing remake. I do think that it may have explained itself a little bit too well, but I don't know, is that a problem? It just didn't feel as mysterious, but everything else, all of the other aspects, the way it was recreated, it makes perfect sense, and I'm just so glad he got to do this. It was the right person, it was the right choice. I'm gonna give this one a personal score of 9 out of 10. I loved it. The remake from that source material, it was just spot on in all of the right ways. They really chose the best director for this film. Originality, I'm gonna have to give it like a 2. I mean, it's a remake, and I feel like it's been tackled in so many different ways. I do feel like a lot of what made it unique was derived from other films as well, just put together. A lot of really great moments in horror that come together for this film, and subgenres and themes. And for scare, I'm going to give it a 7. I thought it was very sinister. I was shocked at some moments, and I just really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy it too when it comes out. I can't wait to see your thoughts. Don't forget, I've made these videos recently, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.